His words have become a test for his administration. Civilians and rebel fighters have been pleading with the U.S. for protection. And in 2005, the U.S. and other member states endorsed the United Nations Responsibility to Protect doctrine, which calls on these countries to intervene if they believe genocide is occurring, something that didn't happen for Rwanda or Kosovo. White House officials say they're already responding.
When the ethnic cleansing began in April of '92 in Bosnia, it took over a year for an asset freeze, over 2 years for a travel ban. Again, our actions were in under 2 weeks in this case.
One former State Department official under the Bush administration says Obama's own words may have boxed him in.
Here because he's gotten pretty far out ahead by saying that Gaddafi has to step down, that he's lost moral and legitimacy to govern. And so he's on the line to actually carry out what he has said.
But a former U.S. State Department official under the Obama administration told AlJazeera the fighting in Libya isn't genocide per se. That said,
we are going to see evidence of extraordinary brutality. We're already seeing it in terms of just mowing down civilians, but I think this is not going to be something that a president is going to want to have on his conscience.
Also confusing observers, Obama's statement made during his speech in Cairo.
So let me be clear. No system of government can or should be imposed by one nation by any other.
And it's that statement that may be part of the reason why there's little support for a no-fly zone. But the statement is not enough to form a clear doctrine either. Instead, Obama has been dealing with popular uprisings in the Middle East on a nation-by-nation basis, and always with the intent, he says, of letting the citizens determine their fate. Rosalind Jordan, AlJazeera, Washington.
Hilary Mann Leverett is a former White House and State Department official. She joins me in the studio for more. Hilary, we've got Barack Obama saying Gaddafi must go. He's still there. No action has been taken other than sanctions, a sort of soft approach, I guess.
Right.
What's the problem? Is it a military problem? Is it domestic politics?
I think there's a large component of domestic politics here. What we see happening in the Obama administration is a real disagreement, a real substantive disagreement among some of Obama's closest senior advisors who believe in humanitarian intervention, military intervention for humanitarian purposes. You have those people versus what I would call more of the realists in the administration, particularly out of the Defense Department, who say, as Secretary Gates said publicly last week, let's call a spade a spade. This is not going to solve any humanitarian problem. What we're talking about, the various pieces that we're talking about would entail an attack on Libya, another attack, U.S. military attack on yet another Muslim Arab country. This is something that could be potentially disastrous for the United States. So you have a real disagreement within the administration among those who claim to want to intervene for humanitarian purposes and those say, hey, let's call a spade a spade. An attack on another Muslim Arab country could have serious repercussions for the United States.
Okay, so it's been days of being stuck in that position. What is likely to break that impasse? Is there anything that could happen in the discussions with NATO that could push this on?
I don't think so. I mean, I think a major problem here, too, is that you've had major disagreements within the Obama administration, and then you have the president himself, who came out very early, I think because he was reeling over the inability of his administration to come out early enough to cut Mubarak loose in Egypt. Obama came out very early to demand that Gaddafi in Libya step down, that he was illegitimate and had to leave. But Obama has no ability to deliver on that. So here he is in the U.S. domestic political context, heating up towards an election season, where Obama can't deliver on his demand that Gaddafi step down, and because he said that Gaddafi has lost his legitimacy, the United States also has cut itself out of any role to negotiate a resolution to this crisis.
And proving that is the fact that some of Gaddafi's representatives flew to Cairo, Brussels, and Portugal.
Exactly. And this shows that Gaddafi is willing to be part of a negotiated process. And while we may find that distasteful, that is really the only way out of this. We're not going to bomb our way out of it. We're not going to be able to close our eyes and pretend nothing's happening.
It wasn't distasteful for Obama in the beginning, was it? Talking to someone like him, but
that's
seems
right.
to have changed.
That's right. Obama had this really important strategic impulse to engage with people, engage the world as it is, not as we want it to be or can pretend it to be. That was an important strategic impulse. But every time he's been put to the test, whether it's among what we're seeing in the Arab awakening across the Middle East, whether it was on Arab-Israeli, on Afghanistan, on Iran, every time he's been put to the test to actually do the dirty work that needs to be done to negotiate, to have real diplomacy, to bring peace and stability, he has really, I think, seriously failed in test after test.
Hilary Mann Leverett, always good to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back a little later in the News Hour with more from the Americas, including Republicans in the U.S. state of Wisconsin vote to end collective bargaining for state employees. But is the standoff between unions and the governor over?
Because past governors and past
Now, Thursday sees the opening of what Myanmar is calling one of its biggest ever precious gem sales, where the government will flaunt its ruby industry. What it won't be showing off is the virtual slave industry behind the business that brings in billions of dollars, propping up the country's ruling junta. Al Jazeera has been secretly filming in Myanmar's ruby-producing Mogok region, where access by foreigners is strictly prohibited.
They are as young as 4 years old, cracking rocks in government-controlled mines, searching for one of the world's most precious jewels, the blood-red ruby. And this is how it all gets started. In the dark of night, dozens of miners take over property belonging to local farmers. They dig, hunting for the valuable gem. Armed men keep watch, leaving the rightful owners helpless to stop them.
We have been here the whole night trying to defend the land, but we can't control them. We won't get any compensation, and the police encourage this.
Supervising the operation is the local police chief and his army counterpart. Once rubies are found, the land is officially claimed by the state. We filmed the operation secretly, as foreigners are forbidden from visiting the area. The entire region of Mogok is off limits to outsiders. Its mines provide 90% of the world's ruby supply, and the government wields complete control. Locals who used to own property here often end up as virtual slaves to the ruby trade. It is hard, back-breaking work, and guards ensure the gems they do find are handed over. This man, a supervisor, tells us people here are given less than $1.50 a day for their efforts. We visit several mines, and in each are the elderly and more children. $216 US. And
ruby, yellow gold.
Where's the rubies from? Mogok?
Mogok ruby, natural stone.
Natural stone. Here is where much of the jewels end up, government-run emporiums in the country's capital. Despite sanctions last year, the state earned a record $1.67 billion. Hala Win, a former military pilot and one of the country's biggest gem traders, tells us the pursuit of profits is fast exhausting the ruby supply.
Today, why the production of those ruby and sapphire went down? Because of, they have allowed to make the big mining.